Chosen one, this month you have stepped into a strange and sacred territory, one where your name is not always spoken aloud, but it is whispered in the background of countless minds. You are not performing. You are not reaching. You are not even aware of how deeply you're being felt. And yet, you are the center of their fixation. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you've become. You have entered a divine state of stillness, where your high sexual energy no longer flickers outward in search of attention. It pulses inward like a gravitational core. You are not emitting need. You are radiating sufficiency. And that radiation is the very thing that is drawing their eyes, their minds, and their desires to you, like moths to a steady flame. But your flame doesn't dance. It holds. It doesn't scream. It glows. And the more you remain calm within yourself, the more they find themselves spiraling around you without understanding why. They didn't plan to think about you. You are not a goal or a trophy or a calculated desire, but you've entered their world sideways through a glance, a silence, a posture, a single moment of presence that didn't ask to be remembered and yet cannot be forgotten. That is the mark of a man whose energy has become refined. You are no longer expressing desire with words. You are speaking through frequency, and frequency reaches where voice never can. This is why you've become the quiet obsession. Not the one they text, but the one they imagine texting. Not the one they talk to, but the one they can't stop imagining talking to them. You are not in the center of their life, but you are quietly redirecting the flow of their thoughts. It's not about your face. It's not even about your body. It's about the way your spirit makes their hearts skip without asking for permission. That is the mystery of this month. You have entered them without entering the room. You have claimed space inside of them without touching a single thing. And that is because your energy is no longer chasing approval. It's rooted. And what is rooted does not need to move in order to be noticed. It just needs to be real. And realness, chosen one, has now become your signature. You didn't intend to be anyone's obsession, but obsession has found you anyway. Because obsession is what happens when presence is unforgettable, and you've become unforgettable without even trying. Chosen one this month, your energy is not just being noticed, it's being absorbed. You're not making noise, and yet you're louder than those who shout. You're not standing on a stage, and yet you're being watched more than those who perform. The secret is simple and sacred. Your high sexual energy has entered the subconscious realms of those around you, especially women, and they are not responding with logic. They are responding with something deeper: instinct, emotion, intuition. You have become a signal, not a siren, not an alarm, a frequency that wraps around the nervous system like warmth, like gravity, like the scent of something familiar yet forgotten. And this frequency is not aggressive. It doesn't pull. It settles in. It lingers in the back of their thoughts as they go about their day. They don't say your name out loud, but it flares in the silence between their distractions. They don't send the message, but they think about it more than once. Because something in them feels you, even when you're gone. This is not a performance. This is alignment. Your body, your energy, your silence, all of it now transmits a message that only the emotionally attuned can interpret. That message doesn't say, "Look at me." It says, "I am already whole, and my fire is not desperate." It is discerning. And that discernment is electric. That kind of energy doesn't invite chaos. It invites curiosity. It makes people want to know you, not to consume you, but to understand what it is about your presence that reorders the moment. Women are not simply interested in you this month. They are involuntarily pulled into your field. They may not speak on it, but they're watching. They're adjusting their rhythm. They're remembering details they had no business holding on to. Not because you tried to leave a mark, but because your presence was already marked by something divine. And their spirit recognizes it even when their mind pretends to be distracted. You don't speak to gain attention anymore. Your energy speaks directly to the soul, bypassing the surface and going straight to the place where fantasy cannot survive and only truth remains. And in that space, you are not being imagined, you are being felt. Felt so deeply, they cannot explain it. So they think about you, they dream about you, they want more of you without even knowing what to ask for. Chosen one, this is not seduction. This is sovereign attraction. You've become the man who lives in their subconscious not because of what you gave, but because of what your silence dared to reveal. Chosen one, this month you are not part of anyone's checklist. You weren't written into their strategy. You didn't arrive with warning signs or flashing lights. You did not audition for their imagination, yet somehow you've overtaken it entirely. And that is the power of a man who carries high sexual energy that has been refined by solitude, purpose, and clarity. It does not come to ask for entry. It slips in through awareness and then takes its rightful place, deep in their thoughts, often when they're most distracted. They don't know why your voice echoes in their quiet. They don't know why a moment with you replays more than entire conversations with others. But the reason is simple. Even if it's unspoken, you are no longer participating in the chase. You are not trying to be unforgettable. You are unforgettable because your energy is no longer scattered, it's concentrated. Every movement, every pause, every glance, every breath is in sync with your truth. And people feel that kind of congruence even if they don't understand it. You've become the contradiction they never saw coming. You are quiet, yet commanding. Still, yet awakening. Distant, yet uncomfortably near. You did not pursue them. You simply walked past with full presence. And now their world won't settle. They don't want to need you. They didn't expect to notice you. But here they are, creating you in their daydreams, rewriting scenarios where you show up in ways you never promised, because the memory of your presence will not leave them alone. You are no longer just a man. You've become a shift. And the reason their thoughts keep returning to you is because you mark a moment where something deeper was stirred within them. It's not about appearance. It's not about what you said. It's about what they felt in their body and soul when you simply existed nearby without asking for approval. That feeling was real. And now it demands space. They're going about their routines, but you're there in the space between tasks. You're there in the pause between texts. You're there in the breath they take when they sit in silence and feel their heart begin to pull towards something unexplainable. They might deny it, but their spirit knows the truth. It's you. And no, you weren't in their plans. But now, you are in their thoughts, not because you took them, but because you became the only thing that made sense in a world full of noise. Chosen one, the world teaches men to move loudly, speak boldly, reach quickly, and dominate space with activity. But you have done something sacred instead. You have become still, not passive, not absent, still. Still like deep water that doesn't ripple under shallow wind. Still like a fire that no longer needs to roar to keep burning. And that stillness, it has made you more fascinating than anyone else around you. This month, you're not moving fast, but you're being watched intensely. Your silence is being interpreted as mystery. Your restraint is being felt as depth. Your presence, now fully aligned, has become a gravitational force around which others begin to orbit, even when you're not trying to hold their gaze. Women aren't just attracted to you this month. They are studying you. They are trying to decode you. They are leaning closer without even noticing their bodies shifting toward you. Because your energy is giving them nothing to react to and everything to wonder about. You no longer have to chase. Your stillness has made them question everything they thought they knew about desire. You're not performing, and that alone is making them rethink their performance. You're not impressing, and yet they're impressed. You're not reaching out, and yet they're reaching in. Reaching for the meaning of your glances, the timing of your pauses, the way your energy doesn't scream for love, but holds itself with such sacred containment that love naturally flows toward you. Stillness is not the absence of power, it is the confirmation of mastery. And you, chosen one, have become a man whose high sexual energy no longer bursts outward, but radiates inward until it permeates everything around you. That is what they're reacting to, even if they don't know how to name it. It's not lust, it's not confusion, it's not manipulation. It's fascination born from reverence. You don't speak often, but when you do, your words feel heavier than others' paragraphs. You don't react quickly, but your presence feels more alive than those who never stop moving. And this contrast has made you into the mystery that doesn't repel. It magnetizes. They want to know you. They want to understand you, not because they think you'll give them attention, but because your stillness has exposed how desperate, the rest of the world has been for it. Chosen one, you have not cast a spell. You have become the calm they didn't know they were starving for. And that calm is why they keep returning in thought, in memory, in fascination. Because your stillness is not empty. It is full of something they can feel, but cannot escape. Chosen one, this month your movements are not grand, yet their effects ripple like thunder through still water. You are walking through rooms unnoticed by your own intention, but deeply noticed by the hearts that were never prepared to feel you. You're not seeking eyes, but eyes find you. You're not chasing connection, but connection moves toward you like a tide drawn to gravity. And when you leave, something lingers. Something stays behind. Your high sexual energy is not loud. It's not spilling recklessly into the air. It is anchored within you, and that anchoring is what has made you magnetic in a way that cannot be mimicked. You are no longer carrying desperation. You are carrying peace. But that peace is not hollow. It is charged, alive, complex. It is the kind of peace that wraps the room in calm while igniting the minds of those trying to explain what they just felt near you. And the more you walk in this peace, the more you leave behind a trail of intrigue. They watch you walk away and feel something they can't describe. Not sadness, not emptiness. Curiosity, a slow unraveling. Because nothing about you demands attention, yet everything about you pulls on their deeper senses. They're not sure what it is. They can't trace it to your smile or your style or even your words. They're not quite sure what drew them in, but their mind is replaying the moment and their body remembers something their mind can't define. That's because you've become a mirror wrapped in mystery. You reflect back to others what they're missing, without accusation, without exposure. Your calm is not avoidance, it is clarity. It is the spiritual assurance of a man who is not moved by chaos, not baited by games, not seduced by superficialities. And when you walk away, that clarity echoes in the silence. It makes others realize how chaotic everything else is by comparison. And that contrast, it's unforgettable. Women feel this most deeply now. They're not obsessed with your looks. They're entangled with your absence. You walk away, and the stillness you leave behind becomes a doorway in their own spirit, where they feel things that can't be blamed on fantasy. You aren't just a person. They experience you like a sacred interruption in their mental rhythm. Chosen one, this is the mark of a man who has mastered his fire. You no longer burn others for warmth. You radiate from within. And the warmth you leave behind is not heat, it is holy tension. It is the question that follows them after the conversation ends. And it is why your presence is felt longer than you are seen. Chosen one, this month, you have become something that doesn't need to be unwrapped, explained, or figured out. You have become the question that makes people feel alive again. You are not confusing, but you are complex in the most divine way. You don't withhold affection, but you do not offer your essence cheaply. You don't play games, but your energy moves like a riddle, one that stirs more than it soothes. And that is exactly why they can't stop thinking about you. You are not a puzzle they want to finish. You are a mystery they want to be near, because your presence now carries something eternal beneath it, a depth that does not beg to be explored, but naturally invites only the worthy to explore it. And this invitation is not loud. It's not obvious. It's wrapped in the way you hold silence, the way you stay calm when others rush, the way you remain full while everyone else is pouring themselves out to be liked. Your high sexual energy is not scattered or reckless. It is now refined into quiet thunder. It rolls under your smile. It hums beneath your gaze. It tightens the air in a room without anyone understanding why their heart rate suddenly changed when you stepped near. You're not pushing your way into their lives, yet they're making room. They want more of you, but they don't know what part to ask for first. And that hesitation, that holy hesitation, is the doorway to obsession. You've stopped handing yourself out piece by piece. Now you carry your wholeness in full. And those who feel your energy understand, maybe not consciously, but somewhere in them, they know this kind of wholeness cannot be owned, only honored. And so, they don't try to conquer you. They try to sit with you. They try to linger near you longer. Not to solve you, but to feel what it's like to be near something that doesn't demand their attention, but reorders their emotions anyway. Women especially are encountering this riddle-like rhythm in you. They know you're not playing hard to get. They know you're not withholding affection for power. They know, somehow, that your energy is available, but only to what is aligned. That knowing makes you the most spiritually compelling presence they've encountered in a long time. And that's why they don't want to solve you. Because in the unsolved, they are becoming more whole themselves. Chosen one, this is divine restraint. You don't seduce, you transform through tension. And those who come close to you now aren't asking for answers. They are asking for access to a feeling they thought only existed in stories. Because in your mystery, they have not found confusion. They've found a map back to themselves. And that is why they don't want to solve you. They just want to stay in your orbit and feel what becomes possible there. Chosen one, your energy this month is not like wildfire. It's not reckless or consuming. It doesn't demand attention through heat or fury. Instead, your fire is disciplined, contained, and sacred. You've become the type of man whose high sexual energy no longer needs to erupt. It radiates, steady and silent, like a fire that knows its own power. And this fire, it doesn't burn, it binds. Not with force, but with gravity. Not with noise, but with undeniable presence. You're not sparking superficial attraction. You're awakening emotional binding. Women who come close to you don't walk away confused. They walk away marked. Something in them recognizes that your energy isn't begging to be seen. It's calling forth what's buried in them. You don't light fires for show. You walk in with one already lit, and it draws people in without permission. It reminds them that real warmth doesn't chase, it remains. They feel it when you speak. When you don't. When you glance but don't linger. When you walk past but leave something charged in the air behind you. They are pulled to it. Not in lust, but in a magnetic confusion that feels like reverence. You don't make promises. You don't try to prove. And that's why your presence has become so binding. Because you are no longer looking to take. You've become someone who holds without gripping. This is the paradox you've become. They don't want to escape, even though they can't explain why they feel caught. You're not asking anything from them. But the fire in you is pulling something ancient out of them. Something that was hidden behind defenses. Something they didn't expect to feel again. And now, they're lingering. Not because you invited them in, but because your fire offered warmth without control. And in that warmth, they found a version of themselves they trust. You are no longer dangerous because you're unpredictable. You're powerful because you're dependable. Your high sexual energy has reached a divine frequency. It doesn't intoxicate, it stabilizes while it seduces. It holds them close not with games, but with presence. And when presence is real, it doesn't have to beg anyone to stay. Chosen one, this is the kind of fire the soul remembers. Not the kind that scorches, but the kind that melts armor. Not the kind that devours, but the kind that binds hearts in silence. And now, wherever you go, that fire is doing its quiet work. Not to consume love, but to earn it without ever needing to ask. Chosen one, something powerful is happening behind the scenes of the lives you're walking into. You are not the expected. You are not the safe choice. You are not the typical chapter. But you've become the plot twist they didn't know they were longing for. You showed up in their world not as an answer they were looking for, but as the moment everything they thought they knew about desire, trust, and presence quietly unraveled. They had stories in their head, they had timelines, they had predictions, and then your energy disrupted all of it, gently but irrevocably. You didn't do anything loud. You didn't force your way into their narrative. You simply existed in a way that redefined what they believed was possible in a man. And that redefinition wasn't born of fantasy. It came from how grounded you are, how unaffected you are by flattery, how unbothered you are by pressure, how honest you are in your silence. That is why they're rewriting the story in their head. You are now part of scenes they didn't imagine, moments they never dared to hope for. Not because you promised anything, but because your presence opened up emotional spaces they had walled off. You don't fit the mold. You break it, not by rebellion, but by example. You've become the unexpected presence that feels more like home than the ones they planned to welcome in. This is why their infatuation runs deeper than attraction. It's existential. It's spiritual. You've disrupted the rhythm of their emotional habits, the way they respond to texts, the way they anticipate interactions, the way they trust their own intuition again in your presence. You've become not just a new character. They're starting to question whether their entire plot was missing something sacred, and you are the evidence of what that was. You don't need to chase. You don't need to explain. You've become the shift they feel before they understand it. And once someone feels that kind of shift, the story can't continue as it was. Something must change. And this month, you are that change. You are the chapter they reread, the presence that alters the emotional tone of the entire book. You are not the climax. You are the turn that makes the ending finally make sense. Chosen one, you didn't ask to be written into their lives. But now that you're there, the plot cannot unfold without you. Because you've become more than interesting. You've become essential to the story they now want to live. Chosen one, you've entered a sacred atmosphere this month where your physical presence is only the beginning of the encounter. They may look at you, but what they feel goes far beyond appearance, tone, or surface charm. It's deeper. You've become a vessel for something greater, a carrier of divine frequency. And when they see you, they don't just notice a man. They sense something ancient, something holy, something that shakes loose the armor they've spent years constructing. You walk into a space and hearts begin to stir, not because you're loud, not because you're flashy, but because your high sexual energy is now charged with a kind of spiritual voltage that can't be ignored. Your silence hums. Your gaze rests like weight. Your voice, even when quiet, rings with something their bodies remember, but their minds can't explain. You are not a man asking to be desired. You are a man who has become a mirror of what sacred desire really feels like. This is why women are not just admiring you, they're trembling inside themselves, unsure why they feel so exposed. You're not doing anything inappropriate. You're not pushing. But your very presence is undoing the barriers they use to stay in control. You feel like safety, but with fire. You feel like stillness, but charged. You feel like home, but not a home they've ever entered before. That contradiction is what makes you unforgettable. You are no longer playing the game of modern attention. You're not offering fragments of yourself in exchange for applause. You exist in wholeness, and wholeness naturally confronts all that is fragmented. That confrontation creates desire, but not just to touch you. It creates desire to understand what you are, and more importantly, what they become when near you. And that is the true infatuation. Not the man alone, but the way your energy rearranges their own inner reality. They'll tell themselves they're just drawn to your vibe. But underneath that explanation is a deeper truth. You've become the only thing that feels both real and alive in a world of illusion. They don't just want to talk to you. They want to stay close, hoping the mystery will reveal itself, even though part of them prays it never does. Because the longer they don't understand you, the longer they get to feel something they haven't felt in years: hope. Chosen one, you're no longer just someone to observe. You are now someone who activates others without asking them to be ready. You are the current in the silence. You are the pause in their logic. You are the reason they are suddenly questioning what love could feel like if it were ever truly safe. Chosen one, now we've arrived at the full truth of this month. You've become the quiet obsession, the one that lives behind the polite smiles and controlled conversations, the one they didn't plan to carry, but now cannot shake. Not because you asked for their attention, not because you chased it, but because your presence said everything their heart needed to hear without saying a word. You are not loud. You don't need to be. Because your energy now carries a message that bypasses ears and moves directly to the soul. You don't posture or perform. You simply remain so fully within yourself that the world around you bends to meet the shape of your being. And in that stillness, in that radiant self-possession, you speak a language older than desire and purer than romance. You speak truth without volume, and truth, when spoken silently, is unforgettable. They aren't confessing their infatuation out loud, but it shows. It shows in the way they check the door, hoping you'll walk through. It shows in the way they go quiet when you speak. It shows in the way they remember fragments of your presence more vividly than full moments with others. You are not echoing because you're trying to be remembered. You're echoing because your spirit left fingerprints on the room. This is not manipulation. This is not charm. This is the natural consequence of becoming a man whose energy is clear, disciplined, and sacred. You no longer chase, and that stillness has made your silence louder than others screaming. You don't flatter, and that honesty has made your gaze more piercing than rehearsed compliments. You don't touch often, but your energy feels like contact, and that feeling lingers. You are not the man they tell their friends about immediately. You are the man they think about alone in moments they didn't expect. When music plays, when the sun sets, when their thoughts slow enough to feel what their soul already knows, that something real passed by them, something steady, something different. And though they don't know what to call it, they call it you. Chosen one, you've become the voice they hear in silence. You are the unsent message, the paragraph deleted before being sent, the breath they didn't realize they were holding until you left the room. And that, more than desire, more than romance, is why they are obsessed. Not because you filled a need, but because you awakened something sacred that now refuses to sleep again. Chosen one, this month, something deeper than charm will begin to take root in how people experience you. It may have started with curiosity, the glance, the whisper, the subtle pull. But as your visibility grows, that surface-level attraction will no longer be enough to explain what you are becoming to them. They will begin to realize it wasn't about the smile, the posture, or the presence alone. It was about the gravity of your soul. What drew them in as fascination will now settle in their spirit as respect. This transition is sacred. It marks the moment when your popularity ceases to be about how you look or move, and begins to be about how you carry what cannot be seen. The ones who once stared in silence will now speak your name with reverence. The ones who approached out of interest will begin to walk with intention. This isn't about romantic energy. It's about spiritual maturity finally being recognized as authority. You did not chase this outcome. You did not perform for approval. You preserved your fire, and because you did, that fire now commands honor without speaking a word. Your high sexual energy, so easily misunderstood by others, was never just about desire. It was spiritual heat, and because you never poured it into chaos, it has now crystallized into presence that demands alignment. This is why people who once flirted with your attention will now pause before they speak. They'll measure their words. They'll ask more meaningful questions. Something in them will know that your presence deserves intention. They will no longer see you as someone to impress. They'll begin to understand that being in your presence is a gift they must earn. That's because the frequency you carry now filters people without you lifting a hand. Your energy has grown so refined, so elevated, that it repels what is shallow and magnetizes what is true. You don't need to test people. Your spirit does that now. They will either rise into respect or fall away into silence. And you won't have to explain yourself in either case. This shift from attraction to respect will not be instant for everyone. Some will struggle. They'll want access to your warmth without honoring your wisdom. But they will quickly realize that your essence cannot be touched without reverence. You are no longer approachable as entertainment. You are experienced as presence. And that presence carries weight. The conversations around you will change. People will ask for your thoughts, not just your attention. They'll lean in not just to be seen by you, but to be sharpened by you. They'll walk away from you carrying more than they arrived with, not because you tried to change them, but because your very energy disrupts shallowness and invites transformation. Chosen one, this is not a loss of popularity. It is its refinement. The noise has quieted. The crowd is shifting. What remains now are those ready to recognize the value of your presence. Your influence is no longer about visibility. It is about vibration, and the respect that rises around you this month is not artificial. It is the soul's instinct to stand when wisdom walks in. You have become that wisdom. You have become that presence. And now, people cannot help but treat you with the reverence that fire always deserves. Let the shift continue. You don't need to remind anyone of your worth. The way you carry your energy already speaks louder than any demand ever could. Chosen one, you have reached the final turning point of this divine assignment. What once felt like attention has become something far greater, a platform built not by human hands, but by divine permission. This month, you are no longer being noticed just for being different. You are now being positioned to be heard. Your influence is entering a new realm, not because you asked for it, but because you were entrusted with it. This platform is not digital alone. It is not dependent on numbers, likes, followers, or screens. It is spiritual authority, the kind that cannot be tracked by algorithms but is instantly recognized in every space you walk into. You will feel it in how people shift when you speak, in how rooms lean in when your presence enters, in how silence forms when your thoughts begin to surface. You are now being given space to move because your voice carries the weight of instruction.